Can you believe it? Week 6, here we are, Unit 6. Let me say a couple things. First thing I need to say is, holy smokes, what an experience this has been for me. I have been reading your thoughts, your correspondence, your interactions, and I think I said this before, but I can't help but say it again. It's amazing. The group of students that I have in these two sections, and the thoughts that you have and the questions you're asking, man, it is so good. So let me just say thank you for that. This is a unique course. I get it. You know, one of the questions he was even asked, I think it was last week, toward the end of the week, I think toward the end of the week, was where does career counseling end and marriage and family therapy or counseling, traditional counseling, where does it start, or vice versa? And I think they're very different buckets. And I think what's going to be important for you is if you do attempt to dabble in kind of having feet in both, straddling both worlds, is to be very clear on what hat you're wearing, so to speak. Are you wearing the hat of career counselor, or are you wearing the hat of marriage counselor, or, you know, what have you, right? Psychotherapist. What role are you playing? I don't think it's going to be, well, let me go back. It will not behoove you to try and go back and forth. In fact, I have therapist friends. I have former students that are therapists who refer students or clients to me as a career counselor or a career coach and as a life coach, okay? Because they know that their expertise expires at the end of what they're trained to do. And they're not even trying to dabble in that. Now, you say, well, wait a second, why am I in this class then? Shouldn't I be, able to do both? Yes, potentially. But again, one of the things that you'll find is it's going to be really important that you find your area of expertise. So for me, I do my coaching, and I have a very specific approach, which I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share a bunch of documents with you at the end of the class. And I take these documents, or this approach that I use, and then I use that same approach within career coaching, life coaching, leadership coaching, executive coaching, because it's all the same questions that I'm asking. Okay, I don't, I'm actually on a app that sends me referrals for jobs, and I have a couple that I'm signed up to do. I do resumes, I do career cover letters, I do interview prep, job search, and so forth. And then I do, the only option they have is life coaching, but underneath that I put career coaching. And every now and again I get jobs, prospective jobs sent to me, and they say therapy or counseling. Now, of course, I would never try to dabble in that. First of all, I don't have the license to do so, so I'm not going to do that. But I know where my limitations are. And so I think for you, it's going to be really important that you clearly delineate where your limitations are and when it's time to refer out. Okay, what can you do, what can't you do, and so forth, right? Hope that makes sense. So that's a great question. But what I do know is that what you're diving into in this class, from the perspectives you're bringing from your other forms of education, is really powerful. So thank you so much. I have to say that what I have seen and heard and interacted with you on this term, this is by far some of the best thinking that I've seen in this class. And I think part of it is because I've changed the curriculum, and so my N is rather small, right? So what I'm comparing to is small, but I am so thankful. And I don't mean to I am so thankful. No, I mean I'm truly so thankful for what you have brought to the class this term. It is, in some ways, it's instilled a new sense of hope and excitement about what it is that I'm getting to do in this class. So thank you for that. Again, man, what a treat and privilege it is to really be engaged with this class and to see how seriously you're taking it. It's just awesome. It's not a hard class, right? I was telling a student earlier, we were emailing back and forth, and I said, and I even referenced this in another video I did for a different class I'm teaching. I said, when it comes to teaching and education, my bias is toward learning and not towards grades. So you'll notice you've got some assignments here, some papers and all that, and there's a couple, right? So there's no rubric. I don't like rubrics, because when I give a rubric, in fact, I used to give rubrics, and students would take the rubric and they would do exactly what the rubric said. Well, sometimes. That was the bent. I'm going to write to the rubric. I was talking with a colleague about K through 12 education, and so much of what's being taught these days is being taught to the test. I don't want to teach to a test. I don't want to teach to a rubric. I want to teach. In fact, what I want to do, I don't even want to do a lot of teaching. What I really want to do is I want to encourage learning. And I want to lay before all of my students this feast of learning, this feast of knowledge. I want to kind of roll out the red carpet, or roll out the tablecloth. And in that, there's all of this learning that's available to you. And so even this week, as we're getting into Tang again, chapter 10, and Liptak, chapter 7 and 8, and Schwen and Bass chapters, or part 6 and 7, and we get to learn, and we get to dive in and dialogue and engage and just slurp up and chew on, right? Just ruminate. I mean, a lot of the same connections from a great meal, a great feast, is the same with education. And I hope that's the case with this class, with all of your classes, because this is what you're going to make your life's work about. And so even if you're asking some questions, I hope that you're still finding some value. In fact, I think one of the greatest values that comes out of a class like this, it helps for you to ask questions about your personal career. And what is it that you want to do? In fact, there was an article on LinkedIn, which I'm going to put underneath this video, and it talked about the number one reason that people leave jobs is because there's a lack of career development in the workplace. And so you, potentially, if you want to kind of take a deeper dive into this content, could even go further, and you could learn more about this, and you could actually begin to practice. And maybe this is the thing that you chose to do. Maybe you said, I want to be a career counselor, and maybe I want to go work at a college and be a career counselor, rather than being a private practice clinician. I don't know. There's lots of options there. So check out the article. But what you're reading about is so valuable, so important, so needed in our culture today. You'll have your LipTak 321. Again, there's been some great takeaways, some great learnings, some great aha moments, and some great questions asked. I'm getting to those every now and again, so thanks for that. The 6th discussion on Schwen and Bass, which, like I said, has just been fantastic. Thank you for that. Your 6th case study from Tang. Again, your responses have been great there. And I'm giving you points for doing that because I'm not going to tell you it's right or wrong. But I want to show that you're doing it. So if you're actually investing in this process and giving a thoughtful answer, you get credit. If you don't, you don't. But you have been, so thank you for that. And then you have your 4th exercise. And those exercises have been a lot of fun to give me, and I hope that they've been great. Just, even the genogram and kind of this physical in front of you content saying, oh, yeah, they didn't like that, they liked that. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that's really interesting. And maybe you don't have all the information, but that's okay. It just kind of forces you to think about your family history, the lineage, and the careers that came into all that. So thanks for what you've done with that, and I hope those are meaningful. And again, if you do that, I'm not looking for a specific answer because I can't tell you what your goals are, but I can tell you that the fact that you had to write down your goals is really, really important and meaningful. Because if you don't know what your goal is, you don't know what the target is, you're never going to hit it. You're never going to hit the bullseye if you don't know what you're aiming for. So a lot of you put in, I want to be a therapist, great. Or I want to have a family, great. Those are all good things. But if you don't write it down, sometimes there's something so powerful. I just worked with a client. I said, I just want you to write things down. Just write it down. I want you to get it in front of you because there's something that happens that's different than when I say it, when I speak it, versus that when I write it. Even if I don't share it with everybody, I still get to look back on it and reflect on it and go, oh, yeah. Then there's a reminder. I think it's powerful. So thank you for what you've contributed in that. You've got some additional readings. You've got some things coming up, right? You've got your final papers. I'm not going to talk about those until probably the middle of this week, maybe the end of this week. I'll be answering some more of your questions this week. So, man, keep up the great work. It's been awesome. And I've thinking about a lot of the way this class is delivered. And I've heard from a few of you as far as the units being, I'm going to call it locked, right? And I talked about how I don't want this to be a checkbox and all those different things, and that's fine. That's right. I don't want it to be that because I believe that what we're teaching is so valuable and important. But now, of course, I don't have any control over how you respond to this class. But one of the things I will say is that I've really spent a lot of time thinking about this class. And here's a reminder. I said this at the beginning of the class, and I'll say it again. If this were to be a face-to-face class, so much of the units being locked, right, is exactly how that would have taken place in a face-to-face class. Because you can't work ahead in a face-to-face class. And so by wanting to work ahead in an online class, it's kind of bucking the system a little bit, because this is not how this is supposed. It's not designed this way, right? So you have the syllabus in front of you. You know the reading, right? You know all those different things. What you don't know is exactly what's asked of you in those units, right? Nor would you know what was going to be asked of you in future face-to-face learning experiences as well. So online learning is by no means less work. I guarantee you, for me as the instructor, it's significantly more work than it is in a face-to-face class, especially on the front end, having to think through how the course is going to be designed, how we're going to kind of pull out the best in students and so forth. It shouldn't take you less time. It shouldn't take you less effort. In fact, it may take you more time and potentially more effort if you're doing it as you should be, to really invest the best in the class itself. So just a friendly reminder that that's if you were in a face-to-face class, you wouldn't have the opportunity to work ahead, because you wouldn't know what was coming until you met for the class. This is, online is a really interesting animal, and that I think sometimes we think that because it's online, I should be able to do it on my own time. But as the instructor who's deemed it, I think, really essential to kind of keep these units closed until the next one comes around, I think it's important because it helps their overall learning. Now, having said that, I've had a number of you ask if I would unlock the remaining weeks. And what I'm going to do is, for the next 3 weeks, I'll unlock the next week, okay? So I don't want to unlock week 8, because I really want you to focus on what we have in the next couple of weeks. And some of you may say, well, do the whole thing. Well, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'll do week 6 and week 7, and then week 8 I really want you to focus on, because that's when the big assignments are, okay? So just remember that in the same way that if we were in a face-to-face class, we wouldn't be able to work ahead. That's kind of how I've approached this online course. I think your questions as far as the process are helping me to think through. Perhaps I could have done a better job explaining why that is. But really, I think in effect, it just helps to make it an overall better learning experience. But I also hear what you're asking for in the same time. And so I want to kind of give a little bit on that and have a bit of a compromise. Okay? So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. If I can help in any way, again, reach out to me. I've loved the email correspondence. This has just been a great term. I've really, really been grateful for all that you've shared and all that you've done so far, and I look forward to the remaining 3 weeks. I can't believe that we have only 3 weeks left together. 5 weeks has flown by. I don't know if it has for you, but it certainly has for me. So, and probably it's because when I read the content, and probably this is the difference, it's actually really enjoyable. I'm just having so much fun. Like, I'll say this many times when I'm reading papers. There's those papers that you read and you kind of grimace, go, and then there's those papers you read and I just have this huge grin on my face because they're so well written. And the questions you're asking and the things you're discussing, it's definitely the latter. Something that's causing this grin to me on my face, and I'm having such a good time with what it is that you're sharing in this class. So I hope that you can say the same. And again, I hope that this learning, this insatiable desire to learn, is something that the content, not necessarily what I'm saying here, right? I'm not lecturing because that would be boring. You don't want to hear me lecture. You want, I hope, for me to give you all this information. You get to digest the information, just dig in and just scarf it down, and then have it be something that stays with you for quite some time to come. So when I talk with you, whether it's in a month or a year or a decade, do you remember anything from that class? You can go, oh, yeah, that was great because, and then you can fill in the blanks. So much of that took place, and it was such a meaningful learning experience. It really helped me think about my career and where I was headed next. So keep up the great work, have a great week 6, and we will see you online.